Quick announcement before we get into the video, guys. I know some of you don't like announcement. If that's the case, go ahead and skip to the time code on your screen to jump right into the video. But for the rest of you, if you've been a big fan of my storytelling aspects that I had in my concept videos, and you've been telling me that you wanted more, then I've got great news for you. Because last Sunday, I launched my horror story channel and the first episode of my Lore Keeper series. If you want to keep up with some truly chilling tales that are originally written by me, voiced by me, and produced, then you can go ahead and head over to that channel. It'll be linked at the top of the description, and go ahead and check it out. The second episode releases tonight, and a new episode will release every single Sunday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time so that you can get your nighttime spooks in every week. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I will see you tomorrow. Game balance is one of the more interesting things to me as a whole because it's a never-ending conversation, specifically when it comes to live service games, because live service games are always introducing new stuff, new powers, new abilities, new items, new content, and so there's a never-ending discussion about how to balance the game properly. And I think that a few too many people have, like, they live in like this real weird fantasy land where perfect game balance is achievable, and it's just not. It's not. It really, perfect game balance is not achievable in any sense of the word. Doesn't matter what game you look at, Overwatch, Apex, Valorant, whatever. The closest that you can get to game balance being quote unquote perfect will forever be an abstract thing. But I think in general terms, Dead by Daylight is pretty close to being pretty well balanced. Sure, there's like some perks that are kind of annoying, and there is like the nurse who's the most oppressive killer in the game and will always be as long as she stays with the current power she has. But I've done an entire video about that, and you can go watch that if you want. Plus, we'll talk about the nurse a little bit later. But one of the big things that I think a lot of people really don't understand when it comes to balancing is that something being powerful does not automatically make it imbalanced. I didn't know really what to title this video, and I think I'm going to title it Powerful Does Not Equal Imbalanced or something like that, or Unbalanced, I guess. I never really know when to use un or im. Anybody else have that problem? But the point is that you cannot just look at something that's strong and go, oh my God, that's not good, it's unbalanced, and nerf it, right? I'm tired of seeing people wanting to nerf everything that's even remotely powerful. So today we're going to go over some of the things that people have stated are way too powerful, and then I'm going to argue why we should just leave it the fuck alone and why it actually is balanced. And one of the big things that I wanted to start with was actually the Xenomorph, because I thought we were done with this conversation. I thought for a fact we were done talking about the Xenomorph. She's a strong killer. We've been needing a strong killer for quite a few patches now, because I know that a lot of people think that the Singularity is like an A-tier killer. I think Singularity is still in the B tier, and even though I've learned how to use him a little bit better since I did my tier list a few, like a month back, I think, I still believe that he is not the strongest, and we needed an A-tier killer. We needed a killer that was like undeniably A-tier, undeniably powerful, and we got that with the Xenomorph. And I still think after all of these, even with the Xenomorph coming out, I still think we're due for another S-tier killer, but it's hard to make one of those, okay? But the Xenomorph is strong, and she deserves to be, and there was a bit of a problem with her where that her tail attack was a tad too spammable, and I will say that it is kind of frustrating that the only warning you get for the tail attack is audible. I am going to do a video later on down the road on accessibility options within the game and how we can improve upon them, but as somebody who is deaf in one ear, I can't hear out my right ear, it is kind of annoying that the only counter I have to the Xenomorph is to listen for her tail attack. So instead, I have to basically make this habit of learning how to dodge as the tail attack comes off of its pseudo cooldown. But basically, what the problem with the Xenomorph was on release was that as she was doing her tail strike, she wasn't getting punished properly for missing them, and so she could just spam them and she would get downs. It was ridiculous. And so they added in the missed cooldown, which did need to happen, but that was all that needed to happen. I think that a lot of people keep thinking like, oh, we need to make the turret stronger, we need to make it to where it could take her out almost permanently, and then there needs to be a cooldown on the tail attack, and then she can't go in the crawler mode for like 75 seconds, and then I want free wins, and I don't understand why I gotta play against powerful killers. And it's like they want to take Xenomorph and turn her into like a fucking D or C tier killer, and that's just not good game design. The Xenomorph isn't unhealthy for the game because even though she's strong, she does have counterplay. Again, unfortunately, part of the counterplay is having to listen for the tail attack sound, but she does have counterplay. The only thing I would maybe change is to have her tail attack sound, the audible warning, come a little bit earlier than the tail attack actually happening. But other than that, I think it's fine. It's perfectly fine. But people, they want to keep throwing nerfs at her until she's no longer powerful, and that's just not how the game works. Another great example, a fantastic example that I've talked about multiple times on this channel, is people's problem with adrenaline. I keep hearing how adrenaline needs to be nerfed over and over and over and over again. And guys, leave adrenaline alone. It is fine. It's a perfectly balanced perk. Yes, it is powerful. I understand that. But in order to even get use out of it, you gotta live till the end game. Do you understand how difficult that can be sometimes? And even when you live to the end game, it doesn't always necessarily get its value. Like, yeah, you'll get healed for a health state, but like, let's say you're downed right in front of the killer, and then you get healed for the health state, and then the killer just goes, what the fuck, and smacks you again, right? And then you just fall back. That's happened to me multiple times. That's happened to me. Or you might get healed out of your deep wound into your injured state. Well, that doesn't fucking do you any good. The only time you really get, you could get a lot of value from getting healed out of, not the only time, but you get a lot of value from getting healed from injured to healthy, say. But then you're against somebody like, I don't know, Huntress. And it's just like, oh, she has to throw another hatchet, which is, hard. But in the end game, when the only thing she has to focus on is you know what I mean? So it's just like, it gets a lot of value and it's very, very strong. But the fact that it requires you to make it to the end game and then you won't always necessarily get the healing value from it is ridiculous. Whenever it does get, or not ridiculous, it is balanced. Whenever you do get the maximum amount of value from it, when you go from injured to healthy, you get that fucking huge speed boost and you take off running, it's great. But it does not happen every game, and every adrenaline user can tell you it does not happen that way every single game, right? So even though it's strong and I still consider it an S tier perk, I don't consider it something that needs to be fucked with or nerfed. Another one people are clamoring for is for Ultimate Weapon to be nerfed. I think Ultimate Weapon's fine. It's a little bit of annoying, right? I hate the blindness aspect of it because it has fucked me up a couple times, but I feel like if you think Ultimate Weapon needs to be nerfed, then you think Doctor needs to be nerfed, right? Because Doctor is really, really good at getting that kind of info, right? I think Ultimate Weapon, I actually have not seen that many Ultimate Weapon users. It doesn't happen often. Most of the time when I see Ultimate Weapon, it's either being used on a Xenomorph or on a Wesker. And I'm not saying that that's like evidence that, oh my God, like it doesn't, it's actually not great. It's wonderful perk. It's like an A tier information perk. It's great. But at the end of the day, it's only information, right? It's the best information perk in the game, but it's only information. And the big thing about it is that the killer has to be good enough to follow up on that information. So I don't think it needs to be nerfed or changed. And that actually leads me into one of the best perks in the game that I feel like a lot of people just completely misunderstand its power. And that's Windows of Opportunity. A lot of people have stated that Windows of Opportunity is too strong, that it needs to turn off, that having constant aura reading all over the place is like it's so good. I can't believe it, bro. It turns bad players into good players. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Windows of opportunity scales with the person using it. If you're not good at looping to begin with, it doesn't matter if you know where every paladin window is. It really doesn't. I have watched people with windows of opportunity still lose chases because they don't fundamentally understand how to loop. It happens all the time. I just had somebody give an anecdote on my plague video from last week where they were like, I got caught like 7 times and then I put on Windows and Opportunity and instantly ran the killer for 3 gens. That doesn't tell me anything. That doesn't prove any power at all. For one, you could have just had a shitty killer. If you got rolled 7 games in a row, your MMR might have dropped a little bit and they put you up against a killer who's just not good at the game. For 2, they didn't tell me what map it was on. So if they went 7 games on things like Ormond and Cockwind and stuff like that, or fucking Mid-Bitch or whatever, and then suddenly they got thrust on the Haddonfield or RPD or fucking Erie of Cox, well then yeah, you're gonna fucking outrun most killers because those maps are very, very powerful for survivors. So that's just, that's another thing. What I'm trying to think. There's another perk I need to bring up, another perk I need to think about, or another killer? I don't think there is. Like, I think I've given enough examples, right? Powerful does not mean unbalanced. It doesn't mean unhealthy. One that I wanted to talk about, pain res. A lot of people on my Scourge Hook video said that they could not believe that I said that pain resonance was balanced. And I can't believe you don't think it is. Even though it is the most powerful gen regression perk in the game, you only get 4 procs of it. Compare that to something like Pop Goes the Weasel, where you could get up to 11 procs, 12 even if you want to go kick a gen for extra points. You can get up to 11 procs of Pop Goes the Weasel. Pain Resonance only gets 4, and it only gets 1 per survivor. So if a survivor manages to outrun you, or you can't ever down a survivor next to a Scourge Hook, or you know what I mean? You're going to miss out on value of the perk. I didn't like the nerf to the perk. But at the end of the day, I understand the nerf was needed because Pain Resonance in its previous state was so ungodly powerful that you could legitimately stop a gen from being completed for the whole game. You could end games at 5 gens with old Pain Resonance, and you can't do that with the new one. It baffles me that people still think Pain Resonance needs some sort of a nerf. Oh, but you could camp one of the Scourge Hooks. First off, anti-face camping's in the game. So yeah, you could probably proxy camp it, but what are you going to do when you get those 4 unique hooks and use up all your tokens at 5 gens? Then what? Do you have additional slowdown with you? I mean, at that point, then the survivors weren't going to win anyway. If you're running fucking Pain Resonance and Pop Goes the Weasel and Jolt or whatever, that doesn't matter. You can't put that blame on Pain Resonance. The entire build's based around slowing down gens. But if you do a build that doesn't suck, and you just do Pain Resonance as your only slowdown, and you blow your load early in the game, then it's not going to be that great for you. The reason, the difference between powerful and unbalanced comes down to how powerful something is. Even if it is one of the best in the game, even if it is S tier, that doesn't necessarily make it unbalanced. Something like Spirit, for example, is not necessarily an unbalanced killer because of the fact that her power makes it to where she can't see you. So there's a lot of counterplay to her. I think that I haven't looked at Spirit in a while or played her, so I can't tell you if her add-ons are still a problem ever since they did that add-on overhaul a little bit ago. But let's talk about Blight, for example, right? Blight will always be an S tier killer. What makes Blight problematic is his add-ons. Because his add-ons are so powerful, they make him too oppressive. Or the aforementioned Nurse. Nurse needs to be nerfed and changed because she is so goddamn oppressive. There is a difference between powerful and oppressive. Once something becomes oppressive, it needs to be nerfed. But as long as it's just powerful, it's not unbalanced. It's not bad for the game. It's not unhealthy. But a lot of people conflate the things, right? That's another thing that gets conflated a lot. Unbalanced versus unhealthy. Just because something is unhealthy doesn't necessarily mean it's unbalanced. But this video is already 15 minutes long, so I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. But that's the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had bad. I didn't write a script for this one. Obviously, that's usually what the, the face in the top left corner means. But as always, I'd like to give a special thank you to my channel members, the Cannibal Main, Ryan Gesture, Alex Ballix, Tabasco Raccoon, Spirit Upgrades, and Nuclear Bomb for their additional support. And hey guys, don't forget to go check out the new Horror Story channel, which releases a new episode every single Sunday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, because if you don't, Gregory's going to come to your house. And I'm going to fuck your mother, Gregory! Yeah, he really will fuck your mother.